Hey there gamers, welcome back to the Board Game Code channel, and this is a preview of Pandora Celeste. Well, hey there gamers, it's Professor Meg here, and welcome back to the Board Game Code channel. Today we have a preview of Pandora Celeste. Thank you to Gun Tower Games for sponsoring this video, and please keep in mind, everything you see in front of you is in prototype form and subject to change, and a big thing about that is the board that you see in front of you that I'm going to show you the game with is actually the game box. It completely folds up and holds the game completely inside of it. I highly suggest checking out their Game Found page, which is linked down below. You can see exactly what I mean and how it both folds up and unfolds, but that's why I only have these rules here to show you for the beginning. But with that, we are going to jump into Pandora Celeste. In the world of Pandora Celeste, players are playing as these different crewmates that are awakened in the cryo chamber. The emergency protocols have been turned on for the Pandora Celeste, which has some very expensive cargo on board, and you're going to be following these different protocols and trying to uncover different memories, fight off these nasties, and basically just try to survive while trying to work toward your personal objectives. Now, once the abandoned ship protocol has been activated, you are able to move forward toward the end of the game, but this is a pure chaos game of sci-fi baddies that you are going to be fighting off, as well as a ship that is trying to kill you. The ship doesn't really care about its crew, who are expendable, and it definitely wants to eradicate these nasties off of the ship, and the only thing it really has any care for is the cargo that is on board. So a lot of things are going to be thrown at the players, especially their different objectives, which could pit the players against each other as well. Pandora Celeste is a game for people who love chaos and a lot being thrown at them, but a lot of strategy at how to adapt to these different situations. Players are going to be using a hand of cards, that you'll be using certain actions on those cards, and you'll basically be trying to use that in the best way possible to make it through the Pandora Celeste. Players will start the game by choosing a character to play as, and all of the decks are definitely balanced but feel unique to every character, and you will be starting with a hand of 5 cards. Now, when you discard your cards, you will discard them face up because they all have a noise value on the bottom. You can see that there is red, orange, yellow, and green, which is not shown here, but those are the different sounds that you will make, which will make you both first player at the end of the round, but it will also make you a target for any of the nasties that are on board because you made the most noise. So you may want to do specific actions, but you may be forced to pace them out and not do them all quite so soon because you're worried about the amount of noise that you might be making. Another thing to keep in mind is that your cards are your wounds. You can take up to 7 wounds, but your wounds are going to be cards that you take from either your discard pile, your draw deck, or your hand, and place them in your wound tracker underneath your playmat. When you do so, this is a card that you no longer have access to, and there are ways to heal so that you gain access to them again, but you're basically losing cards as you take more and more wounds. Now, some cards do have abilities, such as this card here, Command, but all of the cards do have these symbols up at the top and 2 different banners. Now, this one, for example, only has symbols within the first column and none within the second, and it's 2 symbols within here, meaning that you would be able to take 2 of that particular type of action, and you don't really have an option to do a different type of action. But if you were to play this card, you have 2 different choices available to you, and you'd have to choose which one you are going to do. Now, this card, for example, has 2 symbols in each row, meaning that you can only choose, in each column. So you could only choose 1 column, but you would be able to do both of those actions within that column of cards. Now, I'm going to go through all the actions in a second, but that is why you would choose which cards to play based on the actions that are available and which ones you want to do, as well as which ones you want to preserve for future turns. Now, players are going to take turns playing cards until someone passes. Once someone passes, other players can play up to 2 cards each, and then the round will end. Now, the game is also limited to a specific number of rounds indicated by the emergency protocol, so that is a reason why you wouldn't want to pass early and force players to only be able to play a few number of cards. That is a reason why you may want to pass as soon as all of the actions you want to do are done, or when you feel you have made less noise than your opponents, but you have to keep in mind that you only have a specific number of turns to be able to get through the emergency protocol. Now, going through the actions that players are able to do, the first and most basic, I'm sure you guessed this, is move. You're able to move along these rooms through the different doorways. You're only able to go through the different doors, but you may have noticed there is also an extra level above this board, which is the vents. There is a specific type of move symbol, which is an up and down symbol, where you are able to enter the vents only on specific areas where you're able to use it, but you are then able to be up in the vent area and move around in there, and Nasties can also follow you up there to start fighting you in the vents. So that's a very cool mechanic that you are able to use, and certain things can also turn off certain access points to these vents, and you can turn them back on, which can make it a really cool mechanic for you to jump around from certain parts of the board to the others, especially when there are red doors blocking your way in from certain areas. Now, other than that, you're able to move around the different areas, and you are also able to run. When you run, you are just able to move a bit further, but whenever you move out of an area where a nasty is, if there is a bad guy there, for example, if there was this nasty here in the crew corridor and you went to leave the crew corridor into the refectory, he would then attack. So you would receive an attack from a nasty, which we'll go over attacks and damage in a bit, but they will attack you when you move out unless you creep. There is a specific type of movement called creeping, which you are able to do, which allows you to evade that type of an attack. Now, this is really important because, as I said, your cards are both your actions and they are your wounds. So as you start taking more and more wounds, you are losing your cards, which can be very, very detrimental. Now, I did mention those red doors. You are able to unlock those doors. There's a specific card that allows you to, but there are also these emergency protocols that can sometimes turn off those abilities. So when you're playing these different scenarios, you will always have these different emergency protocols spawned, as well as your personal objectives, which adds a lot of replayability to the game and can also change the different things that you are able to do. Now, another thing that you are able to do is pick up. When you play a pickup action, you are able to pick up different tokens on the board. For example, there is a token here, and this has an 18 on it. These represent memories that you are able to get and gain into your hand. Now, memories are additional cards, and this is how, even though you are taking wounds, you're able to gain cards, which may be better, and you have a bit of agency over the different actions that they provide, over which memories you pick up. So, for example, there's this one, which allows you to take the hide action. Now, the hide action allows you that if you are alone in a room, you're able to hide in that room, meaning that at the end of the round, nasties will not target you as long as you were alone when the round started. Now, another symbol that will be very important to players later in the game is the engineering symbol. The engineering symbol is going to be how you escape from the Pandora Celeste once the abandoned ship protocol has started, and it's going to be the symbol that is here and up here. Now, this is going to happen when you attempt to power up the bridge or the cargo shuttle and then decouple it. You're going to need to play the engineering symbol along with the symbol that is relative next to it. This one isn't necessarily an engineering symbol, so it does depend on what it means, but there are a lot of things in the game that will also need the engineering symbol that you'll need to be able to activate and do different things. Now, there are a lot of clever things in this game as well, where in certain scenarios you will have to bring certain items together. For example, in one of the scenarios, you have to bring these three things together: oxygen, the nozzle, and the trigger, along with the engineering symbol in a particular area, and that will then create the flamethrower for you. So the game is very, very clever and can change a lot of the rules, telling you to do very specific things that are extremely thematic, and then you'll use specific action symbols to be able to accomplish those different goals. Now, as I mentioned the flamethrower, there's also a tool symbol, and when you play that, you'll be able to play a tool that you have ready available to you. So in this example, you would be able to use the flamethrower, but in that example, it would also take over your noise level for that played card, meaning that this would be extremely loud, but you would be able to play your flamethrower that round to potentially set ablaze a ton of nasties and leave them in fire wreckage throughout the whole entire ship. Throughout Pandora Celeste, players are going to be scrambling to figure out exactly what to do, especially while they're completing their objectives. So we're going to go over objectives next, but a huge part of what you're going to be doing is gaining these memories to gain better cards as well as additional health for you so that you have more cards to play as you are taking wounds. But your objectives are really going to guide what you're trying to do because that's how you're going to win the game. Here are some examples of objectives over here, but we have take back the ship. You're a veteran of the Orion Wars, and no stinking alien has taken this ship on your watch. You fulfill your agenda if you kill a big nasty, which are a specific type of nasties on the board. They're going to be the ones that are bigger and badder and harder to kill. You win instantly if you kill a big nasty and no other big nasties are active at the end of the cycle. So this is a way for this player to win instantly. But if a big nasty is on the board, you can play a pickup action in the changing rooms to recover the shotgun and military stim shot stashed in your personal locker. So that's a way for you to get additional tools as well. And your agenda fails if big nasty RNE 5W2NGR escapes. So that's an example of an objective, but here's an example of someone who is working for the company. So a company agent. The company wants all evidence of its activity on this ship erased. You fulfill your agenda if you can decouple solo if you find a smoking gun and use a fight action to destroy it. Your agenda fails if any crew without a company agenda escapes with a smoking gun, or if the undercover reporter achieves their agenda and escapes. So this is someone who is working for the company trying to do something specific, but all players can still win as long as they meet that specific objective. Now this is something important that it also noted is that you can decouple solo. You can only decouple once you have fulfilled your personal goal. So you need to be able to do that to be able to escape the Pandora Celeste. Now there's also lawyer up. If you survive this, the company will come after you with every suit it's got, so you need to prove this wasn't your fault. You fulfill your agenda and can decouple solo if you pick up the captain's datapad from the computer room safe, or you retrieve the spy bot from the vents. Your agenda fails if any crew who have fulfilled their company agenda escapes in the same craft as you. So that is an example of the objectives that will be guiding a lot of your gameplay. But one of the most important things that you need to know is combat, because the nasties are going to be coming at you. They're going to be spawning the entire time. They are crawling onto the ship, and they are every kind of scary that you should be afraid of. So there is this handy dandy Xeno data logbook, because a lot of the cards are pretty simple with the iconography, which I kind of appreciate, that you have a logbook to check and see exactly what each of the different baddies do, all of the nasties, but their cards will have you reference which way to look, and you'll be able to look at the card that is referenced and go right to the exact page that you need to be able to reference that nasty. So here we have the monster bug, which has 8 hits, which means it has to take 8 damage to kill it. Subtract 1 damage from every attack that hits it, which means it basically has 1 shield and is even harder to hit, and its damage is C below. This is why there is this Xenolog book, because a lot of the damage can really depend on the different rules here. This is observations on instincts. When big and all nasties move 5 towards the first target and attack the first non-bug it encounters. The attack inflicts 5 damage, -1 for each MP spent to reach the target. Each move can move through the vents. So this is a baddie that can move through the vents. It's going to move very quickly toward the first player, and it's going to hit them for a potential 5 damage. Now let's talk exactly about how damage works. In Pandora Celeste, there's a really fun push your luck mechanic with the different hits and misses when you are attacking. So when a player is attacking a nasty, you would flip a card from over here from the nasty action deck and see if you hit or miss your target. So first you'll flip the card over and you'll see that you hit. Now you can continue to push your luck and draw an additional card to see if you can do additional damage. However, if you miss for the attack, and it would do -1, so you would miss for the hit drawn. Now if you drew 2 hits and then a miss, it would still do 1 damage, but for sake of the example, let's see, and that would be a miss. So this means that you would then miss the attack and forego any of the damage dealt. Now, if a nasty is attacking you back, you are able to do the same thing. So if a nasty attacks you, let's see, they hit and let's say that you are hoping that the next card would be a miss. You'd be able to see what cards have been played out here, so it kind of is a push your luck mechanic to see what comes out. But if a hit comes out, you can then draw an additional one, and here's another hit. Now this symbol means that you would shuffle in all of the cards so that the hits and misses would be shuffled again, but this nasty would definitely be hitting you and doing damage. Now during the Nasties turn, after all players have gone during that phase of the game, they will also flip over a card to see how they behave. Now again, because of the symbol, it would have been shuffled in, but just for the sake of new cards, I'm just going to draw new ones. And if a nasty was to attack, if it is a little nasty, it would be the blue box, which would be pause and do nothing. That's a very lucky card for players to draw. But for the big nasties, it would be the red box, which is move to attack the nearest target to this room, ignore silent crew. So that's an example of just how the AI would work for the different nasties and how they would move around the board. Now those are the actions that they would take, but again, you would be seeing the hits and misses and being able to push your luck to hopefully be able to stop them from what they're doing, but you definitely need to be careful because they could cause a lot more damage than you intended if you had just let them hit you for the small amount. Pandora Celeste is a crazy free-for-all where you're going to be trying to do a lot of different things at once. You're going to be trying to pick up these different memory cards because that's going to add to the cards that you have available, especially before other players do it. And you're also going to be wanting to pick up other tools to make you as strong as possible. You're going to want to fight off these nasties before they come and start hurting you because, again, they're going to be taking your cards away from you. And you have this cool vent system that you'll be able to jump up into and zip around the board to do different things, accomplishing your different objectives with those in mind. Because you might want to help other players, you might think that they're helping you get the different areas ready to deploy and leave the Pandora Celeste, but you want to make sure that you can meet your different objectives to be able to win the game. Now this game did do a great job of walking me through all of the different roles and introducing them scenario by scenario, which I felt was a great way to show me exactly what was going on before throwing me into the full chaos of the game, which is what it really becomes. So I do highly suggest checking out their GameFound page and their rules that they have set up. They have a lot that is available to you so that you can check out more about the game before you decide if it's right for you to back, but again, highly suggest checking out what they have available over there. One final thing I highly suggest checking out before I go is the playthrough over on Room and Board. There's a playthrough of one of these scenarios over on the Room and Board channel, and it shows you exactly how exciting this game can play out, especially when different twists and turns are thrown at you, and how strong these nasties can be as you are taking more and more wounds, and how the hit and miss system of the nasty action deck can really, really work. So I highly suggest checking them out over there. They do a great job over at Room and Board. Chris did a great job, and thank you to Gun Tower Games for sponsoring this video. This has been Pandora Celeste. I'm Professor Meg, and thank you all for watching the Board Game Co channel. I will see you next time. Bye!